Hi there, it's Joe Slack from the Board Game Design course. And today on Behind the Design, we're going to take a closer look at the Wolfgang Warsch game, Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a game by Schmidt Games and re-implemented by North Star Games in North America. We'll have a look at the mechanics and some of the game design choices that went into the creation of this game. So, let's check out Quacks of Quedlinburg. Quacks of Quedlinburg, at its heart, is a bag-building push-your-luck game. You start off with various different tokens that will be added to your bag. You have tokens in your pot, such as bugs and pumpkins, which are good, and then these garlics, which are bad. So these white garlic chips are the ones you're trying to avoid. Every turn, you're going to be drawing from the bag. Whatever you get, you will advance that number of spaces, and you have to watch out for not getting too many of the white chips. If the total value of your white chips goes beyond 7, then you've boiled over. But there are mitigation strategies in the game. You can flip your bottle over, and when you do that, it allows you to take back that last chip. But even when you do boil over and you've run out with your flask, not all is lost. You still have the opportunity to gain some benefits, but not necessarily all of them. There's also some great catch-up mechanics in Quacks of Quedlinburg. For example, if you're further behind than another player, you will count the number of rat tails on the scoreboard between yourself and the player in the lead. In this case, I'm 2 behind, so I would get to use this rat to advance my token to there. That would be my starting point the next round. If you're able to build your cauldron and not go over with the white chips, then you have the benefit of all the prizes. There's a roll, and the person who's gone the furthest will get that benefit. It could be points, it could be rubies, could be pumpkins, it could be various things. You will also score different types of items that might be in your pot. You will gain rubies based on your placement wherever your chip lands. You'll have the opportunity to buy different items and advance. Now, if you've boiled over, you only have the option to do one or the other. You can either buy new items for your bag or advance and gain points. So not all is lost, as mentioned. And at the end of each round, if you have 2 gems, you can use it to either advance your droplet by 1, which will help you move forward, or replenish your flask. So there's lots of opportunities to catch up and to do different activities in the game. There's also a card that's drawn every round that will give people different benefits. For example, with this card, you have the option to take 1 black chip and add it to your bag, or any 2 value chip from any of the others, or 3 rubies. So it gives you lots of choices depending on what your strategy is in the game. Another nice thing about Quacks is that with each round, new things are introduced. So when we get to the second round, we introduce a brand new type of token that can be added to the bag. When you get to round 3, we get the final one added in. And as you're going along, other things will happen. In round 6, you're going to add another 1 white token to your bag. And then when we get to the end, we're going to score your points and score based on how many rubies you have left over at the end. There are some really interesting design choices in Quacks of Quedlinburg. For example, each of the chips serve different functions. The pumpkins are pretty normal and they will just advance you. The toadstools advance based on the number of pumpkins that were drawn before the toadstool was drawn. These skulls will allow you to return one of the white chips to the bag, which can be very helpful. The green bug tokens will allow you to gain a ruby if you draw it at the right time. The black moth tokens are helpful because if you draw more of them than your opponent on your left and your right, you will be able to move your droplet forward and possibly even gain a ruby. Then the mandrakes are introduced. When you get one of these drawn, you'll be able to remove a white chip if it was previously drawn from the bag. And these purple tokens will allow you to gain points, or if you draw multiple of them, points and rubies, or even gain points and move your droplet forward. As you draw chips from your bag and place them out, they advance that number of spaces. And you will gain the number of points indicated here. But you'll also gain a currency, which you can spend at the end of the round. For example, if you ended here, you'd gain 2 points, and you would advance by 2, and you get 11 of the currency to spend on these different ones. So you could buy a pumpkin for 3, and you could buy a 2 green token for 8, for example. So it allows you to make different types of choices and try different strategies every time you play. Another interesting thing is that even though you have all these choices among these different tokens, each one of these has another side to it. So you can play with various different rules for each of the tokens. Most of the tokens actually have 4 different options. So you can start off with the base option, and as you play the game more and become more advanced and want to try something different, you can try out one of the other options available. So the game has a huge amount of replayability because of all the different options. You can see that there was a lot of thought that went into the game design here, and a lot of balancing had to be done just to make sure that all the values on the tokens align well with each other and their special powers align well so that none would be overpowered and be the obvious choice. If you're a game designer or are thinking about creating your own game for the first time, check out the free 10-minute board game design blueprint below. It'll help you get started fast.